Hi everyone, welcome to or back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Sammy and I like to yap about books. And today I'm doing my March reading wrap up. I feel like March was a really mixed bag for me. I read 10 books in total, and as usual they were a mix of physical books and audiobooks. Just looking, it was mainly audiobooks. Yeah, so I think three physicals and 7 audiobooks. And yeah, very mixed bag. Started off the month really well. Started with Maeve Fly by C.J Leede. And this was so good. It's absolutely unhinged, and it's one that really divides the book community. I've seen such mixed reviews of this, but I absolutely loved it. Don't know what that says about me, but there we go. So in this story, we follow Maeve, who by day is a princess in a well-known theme park. And she greets the kids, she does photo ops, she does the parades. And then outside of her job, she lives with her grandmother, who is her only family member. And it's quite sad because her grandmother is having like end of life home care. And she also wants to have this like social life and like get out there and like date and do all these things. And something happens, and I'm not going to say what because I feel like it would spoil it a little bit. And something clicks, and Maeve, it takes a turn. She takes a turn, and it's crazy. I would read the trigger warnings before listening or reading to this, because it does get a bit dark, and she properly gets unhinged, and just it's just brilliant. I loved it. The things that she gets away with, and yeah, I really enjoyed getting into the mindset of a proper unhinged woman. I don't know what it is about these books where you come across these women and something happens and they completely lose their marbles a bit, and it just makes for such good reading. Yeah, absolutely loved it. It's definitely one that divides the crowd though, so I would love to know what you guys think. I'd love a physical copy for my shelves of this book as well, so I'll definitely be keeping an eye out for that. I then went on to listen to The Reformatory by Tananarive Due. I'm so sorry if I pronounce that wrong. And this was a hard one for me. It's a very dark subject matter. So in this one, we are following 2 kids and their brother and sister. And the brother gets sent to the Reformatory for kicking a white boy in defense of his sister. And we follow both the girl and the boy. We follow the boy as he goes into the Reformatory. We follow him as he goes through all this horrible treatment. And we also see it from the girl's point of view of trying to get her brother out, saying like, this isn't right, he's only a child, and he's basically been put into a prison. It's so strange because obviously we all know how bad it was for people of colour back then. But to read it from a child's perspective, really, it's so upsetting and so heart-wrenching. And it was really hard to listen to without getting like, I was so angry at the way people were treating him. I was just shocked that this kind of treatment could, and it was kind of like just accepted as that's what it was because they're coloured. And normally I can get through an audiobook and I don't tend to pause it that often. With this one, I was listening to about 2 hours at a time, and then I'd stop and be like, I need a breath because I'm finding it really hard to get through and not be like really upset by it. I went into this thinking it was a horror book, and it is horrific, don't get me wrong. Like I said before, the behaviour and the treatment towards these two kids, the things that are said to them, the things that are done, just the attitudes and the secrets that are brought to light in the Reformatory is just so dark. And it is horrific. That is horrific. But for me, it was more of a historical fiction with a supernatural element. I also did get a little bit frustrated with the end because there is this big, like this storyline, and it's crucial to... I can't say it without ruining the story, but it's crucial to the end of the story for the little boy. And then in like the after the kind of big event at the end, it's kind of dropped. And I thought that this kind of thread was really important. And then it just kind of just got dropped. And I was very much like, I really wanted that thread to be finished because that would have like really finished things in a way where I would be like, they finally get full justice. So yeah, I mean, I can't say I enjoyed it because I found it really heavy and hard to listen to. It's a good story, don't get me wrong. It's an important story as well because just highlighting the behaviour and the attitudes and just the atrocious things that happened in these kinds of places. But, and for that, I think it is an important story. I just found it very difficult, very heavy, and going into it thinking it was more of a horror, very fictional, I found it like very shocking that it was so not that, if that makes sense. But it's a very good story. It was just very hard to digest. So, yeah, that was that. I then went on to, and I read this physically, I read The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. And I struggled with this one. It actually started to get to the point where I felt like I was going into a reading slump because the main character really annoyed me with her anxiety. So all of these people in the support group are final girls. They have had massively traumatic events and survived them. And at the very beginning of the story, the main character is agoraphobic. She doesn't go outside. She doesn't like differ from her routine in the house, and it's very much she can't really cope. She's not handling her anxiety very well. And then about 2 chapters in, she's like, and I get it's like a fight or flight response in the situation that she's in, but if you're agoraphobic, I think even that's kind of situation, I don't think it would just be like, oh, I can go outside now and escape and run off and, you know, be okay. And at the end, this is going to sound really petty, at the end, something happens, I don't suppose it's a spoiler, she gets shot in the head, and she says something along the lines of, oh, it turns out all I needed was a bullet in the brain to fix my anxiety. And that really, really annoyed me. I was just like, what a stupid thing to put in a book. What a absolutely idiotic thing to say. I know it's fiction. I know it's like not meant to be taken seriously. And I know the character even meant it as a joke. But I just thought it just really riled me the wrong way. And by that point, I had kind of forced myself through the book. And I just did not like the main character anyway. I didn't like any of the characters in this story. And I just felt like... I just guess it wasn't for me. I don't want to like berate or beat the book, but like it just, the whole thing riled me, and that one thing that she said at the end about anxiety just did it for me. I was like, nah, this is not for me. So that was a big no, and it took me ages to read, and I just felt like I was slogging through it. I do kind of wish I DNF'd it in hindsight. But I did want to see if there was, like, any redemption, and, like, I wanted to see what happened. I don't know. It was just very disappointing. So, yeah, just not for me, unfortunately, with that one. My next audiobook was really interesting. So I didn't really know what I wanted to listen to. I was deciding, what to listen to. And I was still reading the Final Girl support group. And I was looking through Audible, and I stumbled across the Dungeons and Dragons books. And I didn't realise there were like so many Dungeons and Dragons like fictional books, and came across Ravenloft, the Heir of Strahd. And I have always been absolutely fascinated with the Curse of Strahd campaign and the like difficulty of it and like how mad it is. And yeah, anyway, I then saw that this book is written by none other than Delilah S. Dawson, and I was like, this is just perfect. I must read it. So I listened to it. It was such a fun read, and it's very quick for a Strahd campaign, very quick, but it was so clever. The twist at the end, oh, it was so good. It was so Delilah S. Dawson. It was just, oh, beautiful. There is one scene that still sticks in my mind, and I listened to this quite early on in March, and it was so creepy. So one of the characters comes across a room in this castle, and they come across this creepy doll that is like animated and like can like make the creepiest giggly noises and stuff. And because I was listening to it on Audible, they make the giggly sounds. Ugh, so creepy. And the character, and this isn't a spoiler because it's one of those little scenes that kind of add to the story. The character pushes it down I can't remember what it is. Something in the castle pushes it down, and as this doll falls from a great height, you can hear it tumbling down. It's just so creepy. And then you think it gets to the bottom and the blooming thing starts giggling at the bottom, and the character's like, oh, well, that's probably going to come back and kill me at some point, but you don't hear from it again. So in the back of your head, you're like, where's the creepy doll? This is so freaky. But I cannot think, honestly, of anybody else who could have written this story, because Delilah S. Dawson is masterful at creating that creeping sense of dread, which is exactly what the Curse of Strahd campaign does. When you're playing D&D, you get to the point where you're like, don't trust anybody, don't trust anything. And yeah, I fell into the like thought process at the very end of like, oh, well, that was really good, and like I really enjoyed that. And then there was a twist right at the end, and I was like, no, she did not, but she does. And oh my goodness, I want a sequel. I want a sequel for this one. So yeah, it was such a fun listen, and there are a lot of D&D references in it. But I feel like if you're not into D&D, or you don't like know the D&D references, I feel like you could still jump into this and be like, oh, that's a fun little story, I like it. So yeah, really enjoyed that one as well. I then decided to listen to So Thirsty by Rachel Harrison, and this was such a fun little story. I feel like it was really fast paced, and it was just really fun. So in this one, we see two women, and they go on a girls' trip weekend, and things go wrong really quickly. One of the women find out that her husband is cheating on her again, and they get turned into vampires. And then the rest of the story is the two women coming to terms with their new lives as vampires. This story twists the like original stereotypes of vampires. So in this one, you don't get fangs, you just have your normal teeth. You can eat and drink human food, but it tastes really weird. So the only thing that like satisfies the thirst is blood. And what else? Oh, you can't go out in the sun. She kept that one. But I felt like this was like a fun summertime twist on the, because normally it's kind of like dark and like spooky and like very like Curse of Strahd, like the one before, and it can be kind of more gothy. I feel like this one was kind of like summertime vibes, kind of, I don't know, I feel like it would be like a really good like 80s film. It was really good. Very gory at points. Oh my goodness. A lot of gore at points. I was just like, oh, that is a lot of blood. But yeah, really enjoyed it. Not my favourite. Like, it didn't like wow me, but it was a really good fun little time. So I enjoyed that one as well. I then went on to physically read. No, I didn't. I listened to it on Audible. I listened to The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley. And again, this is like middle of the road for me. I enjoyed it. Not my favourite. Didn't blow my mind, but it was really good, and I enjoyed it. So in this story, a group of friends go to a Highland estate to celebrate New Year's Eve, and one of them ends up dead, and it's basically like a whodunit kind of thing. and you have POVs from the group of friends and POVs from the caretaker, and there's a woman who works on the estate as well. And you kind of time hop a little bit in this one. So you have like the friends group, which is like as things are happening, and then you have the caretaker, who is the same, and then you have the woman who works at the estate, and hers is from the future POV, if that makes sense. And yeah, it was good. Oh my god, though, that so like I don't want to give it away, but the planning of this like must have been like just the amount of effort that had to go in to get in the revenge was just years in the making. Absolutely crazy. But yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed it, and I definitely recommend it if you wanted just a quick, easy thriller to get into for a bit. So yeah. The next physical book I read was The Locked Door by Freida McFadden, and I think this is my favourite Freida McFadden book that I have read so far. In this book, we follow a young woman who, as a child, discovered that her father was a serial killer, and he used to keep the women that he murdered in their basement. And he got caught and sentenced to life in prison, and she tried to make a life for herself away from that name, away from being associated with him. And suddenly women start appearing, or being found, I guess, killed and left in the same way that her father used to leave the bodies of the women, and they're all similar women to the ones that he would kill. So I think they are like blue eyes, brown hair, and the cops start to point fingers at her because of who she is, and you know, they're like, well, you saw your dad do it as a kid, so you know, why shouldn't we be questioning you, kind of thing. And what makes it even worse is that the women that are being bumped off are her patients, because she is a surgeon. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this one. I was like pointing fingers at everybody and was still wrong. And then it was just, yeah, the way it was written, I just really enjoyed the way it was written. And yeah, basically my favourite Freida McFadden book that I've read. I've given it to my mum to read because she liked the Handmaid series, Housemaid series even. And yeah, and I really enjoyed that one, so I gave it to her to read. So I'm hoping she likes it. I think she will, because I did, so there we go. After that, I listened to I Hope This Finds You Well by Natalie Sue. Now, I did think that this was a lot like The Office meets Bridget Jones's Diary, but it had a really sad side to it. Like, I was expecting it to be quite funny, quite light-hearted, and quite, like, comedic. And it was not. So, in this story, we follow a young woman who is accidentally given access to everybody's emails, so she can see what they're sending, what they are like instant messaging each other, and she kind of works out like the like the friendships and the cliques and the political side of the office. And at the same time, she's like trying not to lose her job. And she tries to like play the system a little bit and play people into being like, oh, she's not that bad, we'll actually keep her on. And then outside of work, she is like really lonely. She's got no friends. She doesn't have a boyfriend or like a partner. And her mother is very much like, we need to get you married off. We need to get you a husband. It's time you were like having kids and all that. And it's actually really sad because she gets drawn into someone else's life. And I don't want to give it away, but that's very sad as well. And yeah, it just wasn't as funny as I thought it was going to be. It was a lot more serious than I thought. There were parts that reminded me of like The Office and Bridget Jones's Diary, but it was definitely more, especially towards the end, it was very much like, oh, okay, this is quite serious. This is like, it wasn't funny. It was quite like, oh, I just want like a happy ending for them. Do you know what I mean? So it was good. It wasn't my favourite. I also didn't feel like I connected to the character that much. I don't know why though. I don't know. I mean, it's a decent read. It was a decent listen. But again, it was like one of those middle of the roads. Wasn't my favourite. Didn't wow me. It was just a decent story. My next physical read was The Devouring Light by Kat Ellis. I absolutely loved this one. When I started reading it, I actually didn't realise this is a YA horror. And if I hadn't have read that it was a YA horror, I would not have said it was a YA. The characters are all young adults in it, but the horror was like so creepy. Like there were points in it when I was proper creeping out. I was just like, nope, don't like this, do not like this. The tension throughout the whole thing was brilliant, and what happens to them is so creepy. And then at the end just is such a red herring. And then you get to the epilogue, and it was so good. So in this story, we follow predominantly three young musicians, and they are on the way to a music festival, and they have a bus accident, and they get stranded in this like swamp-like area. And the swamp is weird, and it kind of forces them to this house called The Light. And the house is like one of the worst haunted houses ever. So like there's a lot of rumours around the house, and then when they get there, they're like, oh my god, this is the house that like everybody talks about, that people go to, and then they never leave. And the things that happen in this house is just so creepy. So creepy. And yeah, I don't want to give it away because it was just so creepy. And then just when you think, like I said, you know the end, the epilogue just completely changed it, to the point of where I had to read the epilogue twice. I was like, what? And then I was like, oh my god. So yeah, thoroughly enjoyed that one, and I definitely recommend. Like, this is why I don't think we should, I mean, I get why we label them, but like I I normally go like, oh, it's a YA, it's not going to be that scary. This one, so creepy, so creepy. So yeah, it just goes to show, like, don't judge a book based on, like, even its label. Like, if it's labelled in a certain way, just, yeah, it's definitely taught me. The last book that I listened to, I got as an ARC, but it did come out yesterday on the 31st of March. And it was The Fourth Wife by Linda Hamilton. And I'm really disappointed with this one. So I went into this thinking it was like going to be a really good horror story. It's basically about a young woman who gets married off in the Mormon community to a man who already has 3 wives, so she is the 4th wife. And when she gets to their shared house, she has to kind of learn how to be a wife, learn how to live with her. Oh, they had a special word for it. It's something sister. They call each other the brothers and sisters. And there's a special word for, like, when it was the married ones. Anyway. And not only does she have to deal with that, but she also starts to see a ghost. And I thought it was going to be, like, a proper full-on horror with, like, creepy ghosts. And for me, again, like the Reformatory, this is a historical fiction with a supernatural element to it. There was not one point in this book where I was like, oh my god, that's so creepy, or like, oh, I'm scared. Not at all. Not at one point did I feel that way. And it just didn't, like, it didn't hook me. Like, it was an okay story, but it wasn't like, oh my gosh, it's brilliant. And I think I set myself up for a bit of a fall with this one because I went in with such high hopes of it being this really creepy horror. I think I just I built it up in my head, and then when I actually listened to it, I was like, oh, okay. So ended on a bit of a disappointment. However, I started The Trad Wife by Saratoga. Oh my gosh, butchering people's names. Bear with. Trad Wife. Saratoga Schaefer? I'm so sorry. I feel like I butcher these people's names. I can't apologise enough. So I started that a few days ago. But I'm not counting it in March because I haven't finished it. I'm only 40% in. And I'm absolutely loving it. It's just so creepy, and it's crazy, absolutely nuts, but it's so creepy at the same time. And the writing style is insanely good. Like, I am hooked, line and sinker. Like, love it, absolutely love it. The only reason I haven't read more of it is because every time I get into bed to read, I've been absolutely, like, falling asleep. But after I finish filming this, I will be reading. So I'm very excited about that one. And I did start today, this month even, off by listening to a complete audiobook, and it was brilliant, and that'll be in the April wrap-up. But oh my gosh. So yeah, I feel like I've started this month really good. I feel like March, like I said in the beginning, it was such a mixed bag, but I felt like I didn't know what I wanted to read. So I feel like it's all my fault. I just picked not great books. But yeah, I've got some good ones lined up. And I've got some cool videos lined up too. So I'm really looking forward to this month and seeing what happens. So yeah, I'm going to wrap things up there. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know what you read in March. I'm always interested in seeing what other people read, because I'm like, oh, that looks so much better than what I read. But yeah, let me know in the comments. And if you want to see more bookish life and chats, please subscribe, because that does make a difference as well. And yeah, I will see you all next time. Happy reading. Bye.